We got our wonderful guests joining us again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's someone else out there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and start. To the side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. To your left. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. 2, 3. To your left. 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, again, one more time. Hands up. Reach down. 1, 2, 3. To your right. 2, 3. To your left. 2, 3. Center. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands in your waist. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center cross. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Hands on your waist, neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 and 2. Center. Tilt to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Rotating. 1, 2, 3. Reverse. 1, 2, 3. Center. Hands up. Pull an inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, spread your feet. Turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Okay, we'll stretch it out a little. Okay, we switch. Switch. Hey, Steve, sneaking in the back way. Okay, good. Switch, straighten the front knee. Switch. 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 And center. Okay, shake it out. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, hands in your waist, shoulder roll. Ready. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Okay, press, release, exhale, inhale. And stop. Deep breathing, hands up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, wrists. And center. Okay, reverse. And center. Okay, palms down. Bigger circle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Let's shift the weight, balance, and go to the single leg stands. Okay, center shift, lift. And center. Okay, shake it out. Okay, we'll do the leg swing on the right side. We first get hands moving. Okay, Sana, switch. And Sana. Okay, good. This way, swing side to side. And Sana. Okay, switch. And Sana. Okay, shake it out. Okay, hands up. Pull in, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands here. You're going forward and back. Okay, switch, other side, other direction. And center. Okay, center. Open and close. Switch. Okay, center. Preparation, circular movements. Okay, center, lower hoop. Shoulder height. Elbows down. Okay, lower, palms down. Extend. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, pot the horse's mane or diagonal flying. Similar posture. Switch. Okay, center. Cloud hands. Okay, palms down. Lift up. Carry tiger to the mountain. Okay, infinity sign. and Sana. Okay, now we're going to form the fists. Okay, palms together, strum the lute. And Sana. Okay, thumbs up, palms together, alternate the shoulders. And switch. And Sana. Extend, turn, draw the bow. Okay, Sana. Fan through the back. Okay, raise the hand. Okay, palms down. Okay, deep breathing, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Okay, so let's go through the second side of the Tai Chi Paradigm form from the carry tiger to the mount to the left sides, just to work that a bit. Right, so let's start from here. Stroke down, sit back, turn, fold the elbows, forward, turn the palms, sit back, turn, drop the elbows, and then cross. Raise the left hand, bend from the waist, stork flaps wings. Okay, and then relax. Let's step up. Left side grasp the sparrow's tail. Hook your wrists. Left side single whip. Hold the ball. Reverse. Adjust. Diagonal flying. Sit back, and then we're going to turn here. Stroke down. Over the top pot, the horse's mane. Toe out. Step up. Neutral. 1, 2, 3. Sit back. Going to cross over. 1, 2. Jade Lady work shadow. Sit back. Turn toward the other corner. Cross over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cloud hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hook your wrists. Open the form or open the single whip hand. 1, 2. Now we're going to reverse the ball again. Right side diagonal flying. Spread the hands out to the side. Start to retreat. Hands go to the front. Elbows go to the side. And close. Okay, deep breathing. So I call that using the front mirror as a linear form, mainly because you get to see everything you're doing yourself. And that helps you kind of, track your own movement. But, it's a stage where you kind of identify the postures. The grass the sparrow's tail, the pot the horse's mane, cross corner Jade Lady work shadow. So once you identify the postures, when you map it out and you don't have a mirror in front of you all the time, and you might not even have a person in front of you, you can still kind of identify just through, the recollection of what the names of those postures are. So, a lot of times Tai Chi uses names to identify the postures because there's, approximately 37 different ones. But in other martial arts, like in Kung Fu, there's probably a few hundred postures. So recalling those names would be much more difficult. But the thing is, when you identify a posture, then wherever it shows up, it's the same one. It's the same, It's like, a person has a name, wherever that person is, doesn't matter where that person is, it's the same person. So just reference it as that. It's an identifier. So when we do it like that, the left side movements and right side moves, we can distinguish, the difference. One's a mirror image, one's, you know, exactly the same, using the mirror as a mirror image. So following, like when I face Mara, sometimes it's confusing when you're going through the form, because while you're following from behind, it's the same side. But then all of a sudden in the camera, I'm facing you, and typically I would say that's mirror image. But then in the form, it's no longer mirror image, because now you have to do the same side. So that's where it gets confusing. And learning with streaming or online, that's the biggest obstacle to overcome. So, I try to, that's why we have all these mirrors, try to get you to see at least the hand movements from the mirror, but yet follow from the same side, right? So when we're doing, say, what we just did, we're here, we're following on the same side, but the transitions and the coordination that we build over time becomes ingrained in your system. So the movements actually gradually enter a long-term memory, but at the same time, you start to build sort of this body intelligence that I talk about. This is grasp the sparrow's tail, and that leads to single whip. And if you just reference the same side, then you're going to be in a left side single whip. Hold the ball, the palm side goes in, and you reverse. Okay. Now we're here, the lower hand goes up, you're in diagonal flying. Okay. So here, when we're in diagonal flying, we're going to sit back to neutral. Now we superimpose the position to here, then we can stroke down, hold the ball, and we do part the horse's mane. So we know that part the horse's mane is this posture from the drills. We know that we stroke down and we hold the ball. So we do it once on each side. Then Jade Lady works shuttle. Let's do it directly in front of the mirror. So we're here. This is my left side. We would have crossed over into that corner. So the first thing is a horizontal. Then you go back to neutral. Turn to your right. And then move to your left. If we stepped up, we go forward, back, turn, and forward. And then we make a turn from that rear corner to the front. We would end up doing this after we made the turn. And then we begin a set of cloud hands, and we start here, and we pivot. We shift, and we pivot. And we shift, and we pivot. And we do it, we can do this as a drill as many times as you want. But in the form, we just limit it to, say, 4 hand movements. Okay, deep breathing. So I like to say the form is like a book of movements. That's all it is. It's how you house these movements so that you can recall them. So that's one advantage of doing a form, is that you don't randomly memorize a bunch of postures, because then you would maybe forget one, or it would be maybe neglected. But if you do the form, then you're doing it a certain amount of times, and the transitions, the linkage from one posture next posture, there is sort of a common sequential link between certain postures. Like grasp the sparrow's tail generally leads to single whip, right? So the diagonal flying usually comes after hold the ball, and then part the horse's mane. And Jade Lady work shuttle kind of go, hand in hand. One goes into part the horse's mane, and then Jade Lady work shuttle, and then you could go from Jade Lady work shuttle to part the horse's mane. They kind of go together. fan through the back kind of links to what? Parry and punch. So you kind of see that those two postures kind of coming together. And then strum the lute and form the fists. They kind of go together. And typically after the punch, you have the leopard and tiger springs to mountain. Okay, so you can see that there's sort of an order to how these things are tied together. So then you're not memorizing, you know, say 16 or 17 postures in the Tai Chi Paradigm form. Now you're learning maybe those groupings. Then you're down to maybe 10 or 8 or 7. You know, then it starts to merge together, and those pieces just come together as a natural course, and the form starts to make sense. If you're doing the long form, you use identifiers like where the cloud hands is. There's 3 sets. You have what follows it, then it starts to make sense. So if you were to practice on your own, say the long form, and while you're learning it, then if you can get to the first set of cloud hands, then you would work the next section. So you would go from the cloud hand to through the kicks to the next set of cloud hands as another section. That's a pretty big section, because now you have Part the Horse's Mane and Jade Lady Work Shadow there. So, you know, but Jade Lady Work Shadow and Part the Horse's Mane you already know from the Tai Chi Paradigm, so you just have to work on the footwork. So you focus on the parts that are somewhat new, and at the same time you identify with where is it happening. So you have the Jade Lady Work Shadow and the 4 corners in the long form. In the Tai Chi Paradigm form, you just have the cross corners. So that's the difference, is a transition or a mapping of the sequence. Yeah, so in the turning or in just the... Okay, yeah, okay, I got it. Yeah, so when you're in a vertical position and you go to horizontal, like grasp the sparrow's tail, when we go back to neutral, and then you turn towards your center, and then you turn out. Okay, we did that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And we stepped up, not crossing corner, but just stepping up into the opposite side. Here's your vertical. So here's that relationship that we've already established. Then we go like this. Now we're going this way, towards your left. And then Jade Lady Work Shadow. So let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this position is Jade Lady Work Shadow, right? If we're in the opposite stance and not going through the whole transition, that's your other side. Okay. So what you come to realize is that it's made up of some of the geometry of position that we talk about. This is stork flap swings. That's the position from carry tiger to the mountain. This is leopard and tiger springs to mountain, 2 palm pushes. This is a push from brush knee. This is a push from brush knee. Right, so you have a combination, right? You have vertical, you have 1 on each side. You have horizontal, 1 on each side. You have vertical again, 1 on each side. The vertical hand goes to high and a push. So we looked square like that, you would see that we have 1 push from the parallel square movement, 1 upper hand from the upper hoop position. So it's just combinations of these different positions. So muscle memory is joint angle position. So when you establish this memory in the body, your body starts to get familiar with it. And then when it's familiar, what does it do? It gets rid of excessiveness. You start to relax. You start to let go, right? Then your body feels much more comfortable. Now, these are sort of the building blocks to movement and space. And that's how I look at it, as building blocks to space. Integration of body becomes the relationship between your hands, your legs, and your torso. So if I did Jade Lady Work Shadow without stopping and without actually defining the triangle, square, and so, but just passing through in space, it would look like this. It would look like this. I did the same thing, but it's one of the ways. Yeah. Because you're tying in integration body and it becomes fluid. So it's like that's movement sort of to the eye, so that's what you see, or music to your ears, right? So you put all these notes together to create a song, and then you look at the notes and you say they're just individual things. Then you look at it and it doesn't sound like anything. You say, is that right? Then you blend it together and it still sounds terrible because it's not flowing and not fluid. But once it blends together, now you have a sound that's kind of we choreograph movement, and so that is, the same thing that they do in the music, but it's synchronizing it. And then it has, different emotional feeling in sound, and movement has this an emotional feeling too. Movement is body language, right? So how you interpret the language is what you think you see. So it's like, if you go like that, that's leopard and tiger springs the mountain. But if someone's coming at you, you went like that, you said, that means stop. That represents stop, right? So if you go like that, which sometimes they say is rude, the point, but if someone comes to you and points at you, then you say, what did I do? So it's kind of how you animate a motion to create a response and, an exchange, because through that visual thing, now you've, captured an idea. So when we're doing grasp the sparrow's tail is 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of similar to Jade Lady Work Shuttle in kind of a sequential order. But if you were to do grasp the sparrow's tail, and you went like this, that would be grasp the sparrow's tail too. Now, if you were just learning that in that format, your hands might be like that because your body doesn't really cooperate. It's not coordinated. It doesn't know. But so the best way to learn is to define each position in sort of this block form. Just like, when you're learning how to use squares and triangles, putting blocks, you identify the shape, then you start to put them into the compartments or the holes that they belong in. So you really can't put a square into a hole, right? So they say, so you don't want these movements and these moves not blending together. You have to create. And that's what manipulation of skeletal structure is. You're creating these shapes and lines in space, and those become patterns. And then the hands have to work together. That becomes integration, a relationship to right and lefts. Then because we walk and we balance, we have to understand that there's a relationship with the hands and the legs. When we move, there's a balance. When we move this way and this way, there's counterbalance. And when we move this way, you have counterbalance. So when we first learn, say, closing movements, right? We're here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everything is done isolated, independent of itself. Your brain can focus. It's going over here like a robot. But that's not how we move. We have to develop an integration of body. So first it becomes this. Then you have a side-to-side movement. Then from here, 1, 2, 3, you have a turning. You have a turning. You have a turning. You have a separation. you have a counterbalance. You step to the side and you go in a direction. Then it blends together. So then when you do the form, it goes like this. Then it becomes just fluid, like water, right? So that's what's happening. But that's all programmed into your body as a network of information. So your body does get smarter, and your body gets much more control, and the dexterity and the agility that you develop comes from doing it over and over again, and eventually your body starts to figure that out. You know, it takes a long time. It took me a long time to figure that out. So that's why it's not something that you rush through, but it's a concept. You know, and that I think is really what's interesting about it. You know, and you know, like Mara says, you know, don't you get bored doing the same warm-ups every day, two, 3 times a day? It doesn't actually. I don't get bored because what happens is you get a different experience depending on what you're doing. Like if I'm teaching it, then I get a different. So nothing is mapped out. It's not. You know, scripted. It just happens as a course of what's going on, and it's what's going through your mind. And while that goes through your mind, now you start to discover and you start to interpret things. So that becomes how you evolve. So, you know, while you're a practitioner, you want to go through this. When you're a teacher, you have to go through it in another way. And then you learn from what you see. I learn from seeing what you do, because I see maybe discrepancies or maybe a misunderstanding and so forth. And then I have to figure out why you're looking at it the way you're seeing it, and how do I have to, you know, get a message across based on what I think you're thinking. So you actually will connect on this cerebral level, and that's what you know, teachers have to do. But teachers are only in their own, you know, mode, sort of. They can never actually get the message out. So those teachers actually really only involved with what their own body is doing. You have to get into the body of the student and their head. So I used to have to do that as a student to get into my teacher's head or my grandmaster to find out what they're thinking. And then when you start to think on the same line or the same wavelength, then that means you're actually interacting on that level of understanding. So you have to go through these phases. So while you're asking these questions, I'm sharing this information. You're beginning to think along the lines that I'm thinking, and then you start to understand. You know, there's a parallel to it. Does it make sense? So, okay, let's see what time. Okay, you want to do the whole form now, the short form? Okay. Okay, deep breathing. So, so you ask, is that the right way to do it when it should be so fluid? Actually, that's sort of um, a individual practice thing. It's very hard to do that in a group setting because everyone's going to have a different take on how that fluidity is. So it's for your own cultivation. You practice it to discover and to experiment to what the fluidity is like and see if you can hit all the points, the finalization of your postures before it starts to become, not structured. And at the same time, there's functionality to movement. So how you define those movements has to have structural integrity and, how it's applied as a technique or how you're using your strength, really. So strength is directed because strength has to have, it's like a vector. It goes in a direction. It's either right or left, forward or back, a bit of rising and falling downward, and then you tie it all together because horizontal and vertical have to transition through the slants, the obliques. But because we're in numerous planes of movement when we're moving in space, those lines have to be compatible with the space, compatible with the direction, compatible, wherever you're going. So if I did Jade Lady Work Shuttle like this as one position, this would be the same position as how my transition would be, only in a different plane. So that's what happens because the relative position, that's why we can do the form in front of the mirror to identify a posture, because it's really center and the two corners. And everything works within the realm of that space in this particular direction or plane of motion. But if I did it like this, and then I sit back and I turn to this direction, and then I turned, that actually is the same motion, but I ended up the Jade Lady Work Shuttle position. You see, if I cross over to here, and I do this, and I turn, and I come to this position, or I turn to here, it's the same as far as what the body's doing. But you don't, your space is mapped out, but you're tracking a movement as far as the body is turning is exactly the same. Because you're always going to do this, this, and this. But how do you get there when you're transitioning? It's manipulation of your skeletal structure. The forward movement, when does the elbow sink? When does the elbow sink? That's actually the same mechanics. But that's what happens when you program it into your system, because you drew off of that program that was required to do that movement in this relative space. So everything is relative to yourself, and you use it as a guideline. So that happens by itself. It just happens. Believe it or not, that's what, because our brain adapts and our awareness of space starts to change. So, yeah. So we learn to turn, we learn to pivot. This pivoting and this stepping is actually what we're doing. So while I do this as a drill, and I do this as a drill, then it knows how to pivot. So when you go like this and you step out and you cross and you pivot, it becomes just how you move when you're moving through space. Between the cross and the turn and the cross becomes how you would move in a direction. So when in Jade Lady Work Shuttle, when we turn, that's what's happening when we go to the corners. But it's broken down into, when we do the crossover and we spin, that's what happens. Although we're breaking it down one 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's measured by the angular position that we had learned from the pivoting of the foot. So the 45-degree pivot from here is programmed, depending on where you're going. So that's why if they prescribe something like this for, seniors or elderly people that have trouble falling or balance and so forth, you can see why there is a benefit. Because the footwork is intricate, and the footwork is something that our legs don't normally learn, especially after, the stages of, doing a lot of recreational type things. It starts to go away because you don't use it. But this type of thing, because we do it and it's kind of physically effortless, once, because we're not using a lot of strength, you can see we can develop agility of footwork, shifting of weight. So you don't have this fear of falling or fear of all the stuff that everyone talks about in society today, that, when you get older, you're going to fall, you're going to do this, you're going to crash into the walls and all this. It only happens because they're just giving you the statistics. But there must be something to the statistics that tell you that that's happening, because it's true. There's a decline in, not just cognitive, but in your ability to be functional and, agile on your feet. So what ends up happening is you become, fearful and maybe even paranoid that you can't go up because you're going to trip, you're going to fall. And that's because what you don't use goes away. You lose it. You lose the ability. You lose strength. You lose flexibility. You lose all these things. So, it's just a course of the human body pruning out what it doesn't think it needs. So if you don't walk, your brain thinks you don't need to walk anymore. So it just tells, why waste energy keeping that part of your body, wired up and useful? Why not use that energy somewhere else? And your body does that all the time. It takes your resources that you have from the nutrients and uses it wherever it's necessary. So it goes, like oxygen will go to your brain, and it goes to, all these things that happen. So if you don't get enough oxygen, and you just finish eating, what happens? You would vomit, because your stomach needs it for digestion, but it doesn't want you to use it there because it wants it up here. Otherwise, you'd go unconscious. So, your body can respond and do all these things. So anyways, let's do the long form. All right. So I don't know if all this information is valuable, but huh? Okay. All right, ready? Preparation. kick. Left heel kick. Brush knee, right side push. And then we go to the left side, transition across, left side push. Forward again, planting punch. Toe out. Turn, parry, and punch. And step up. High pato. This is just like the first kick, and we're going to do beat the tiger. And this leg kind of swings around, crosses behind, like a Jade Lady Work Shuttle, but it's just the same. It's called Beat the Tiger. Same basic format as Jade Lady Work Shuttle. Lower hoop, cross the hands, level the shoulders, heel kick, right side. There's your other heel kick. You get 2 punches to the ear. Here's your parting leg, and we flip, fold, open. Here's your pedal step. We're going to pedal around. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Stroke down, invert the hand, parry and punch. Form the fist and punch. Divert, block, punch, cross the hands, leopard and tiger springs to mountain. And then we carry tiger to the mountain again. Cross hands. Oblique movements again. This is a repeat. This will take us all the way back to this. Hold the ball and reversing the ball. Grasp the sparrow's tail. And here we reverse the ball. So this is sort of like the halfway point where we reverse the ball. This is the closing movements if we were to close. But actually we turn and we start to part the horse's mane section. Step up, right side. Stroke down. Left, part the horse mane. And we have 2 more. So you notice it's just like in the Tai Chi Paradigm. So we're just doing 5 of these. Part the horse mane. Now cross corner. Go to your left. And here's the movement. Turn. And then create the upper hoop. Turn. Now we're going to pivot, pivot. Step, step. Here we go here. Now here's where part the horse's mane is. So you notice it kind of reverses. Now we're going to cross over just like in the beginning. Was part the horse's mane, Jade Lady Work Shuttle. So you can see the pattern. And then we go from here. Jade Lady Work Shuttle. And then because grasp the sparrow's tail leads back to single whip, you can see that that's what's happening here. And then we turn back to the front and we're back to single whip. Then we do a set of cloud hands. Okay, second set of cloud hands. That's going to take us to the downward posture. Okay. So downward posture is the next position, and we just go to neutral, flatten the hand, snake sticks out tongue, bring your left hand in front, invert the hand, turn your hands over, sit back, sort of pull down, and then step through, cross the hands, lift this knee, and pull back. Step down, poke and kick. So you're like this, and then we're like this. and then we're right at repulse the monkey, and that just repeats again that whole series. So let's do downward posture with the mirror. So I think that's, so we did the hand movements without the legs. You're in the neutral position. You turn your shoulders slightly like this. So you turn and draw back, and then you stick, that's the tongue sticking out. And then this hand has to turn, and then this hand comes up to here. Then you turn over, and you pull down, and then you come back up into this cross hand position. Then you separate the hands. So this is shoulder height, and this is like this, or even sternum height, and this is by the forehead. Then you turn your body back to center, and then another version of thrusting, which is like a snake sticks out tongue, and then this hand turns, and then lifts up. And then we go back to neutral for repulse the monkey, and you would begin like that without going to fist on the elbow. So fist on the elbow is repulse the monkey as a setup for the position before it, and the Jade Lady work shuttle, or the golden cockroach stands on one leg, becomes that. So the hands are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the pattern of motion, right? All of this is circles and triangles and, palm in, palm out type things. Now this, I saw Mara had a little trouble. She said, where did that odd move come from? It's just turning your palms up and turning your palms up. So this is just something that you may not have paid, wasn't obvious. Maybe you didn't realize that this is what's happening. Infinity sign, right? So we're going to do the infinity sign. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now, let's do the infinity sign when they're doing it in tandem or parallel to get 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you see that? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is out, in, out, in. This is follow, 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 right? So when they follow, you're here, 1, 2, 3. So if you turn, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So you see the pattern of movement and the space that it's involved. Now this is for Nan, who does the sword form, right? Broadsword. We go like this: 1, 2, 3. Right? Okay. If you had a sword in your hand and you went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you see that. See your limbs go through a pattern of movement. It's a figure 8, but it's a different dimension of movement, and you're turning your body. So now the lines of movement are tracking, and to find a center line between here and here is this. So now that I'm here, you can see when you turn and you go like that, is a position that your body didn't recognize yet. So that's why it felt a little odd. What's that? You didn't recognize it? Oh no. Gee, I thought that was pretty clear. But anyways, okay, so you're here, right? So this, we just did this. Now we're going to put it together, right? Now a little smaller like that. Okay, so we see that. Now I'm going to turn over here. Now while I'm going to keep turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. There it is. But to see my elbow is here, see? and then I'm going to turn it back. So do we ever turn back? And turn, and turn, 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 turn. Patty cake, making a snowball, meatballs. That's all it is. So, because we can't connect with it on a tangible level, because movements really are virtual. Like we're doing this is virtual. You really can't touch it. You can't. So here, once you put something that's tangible, like making a snowball, and we don't want to get into snow so early, but you can see that you're patting something. If you're making pastries, or you get to roll it out, and then you're doing that. That's all it is. But the thing is, it's only movement. Oh, I think it's time. We went over time. So anyways, we didn't get to finish the form, but we got to do insert needle. Snake sticks our tongue on that, and that's for Steve can work on that a little bit. So this is archived. You can visit it,